Hey, this is Pete. Attention 1913.
Your mom's new boyfriend.
Yeah, because he's not your stepdad anymore.
No, I'm just dating her. I'm not gonna marry her.
Nah, sometimes that's a lot of work. Anyways, this is another Game of Thrones review.
It is.
We're going to be doing episode 26, The Climb. And let's get right into it. So, right in the beginning of the episode, we got Sam and Gilly, who we haven't seen in a while.
No.
They're making a fire. Sam doesn't know how to make a fire. Gilly kind of tells them how to make that fire. And
they're on their way to the wall.
Yeah, they're on their way to the wall.
They're going to try to get back to Castle Black.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully Sam will be able to help somehow after they get there.
Yeah.
And so Sam talks about, like, the dragon fire and how he found it and all that.
Dragon glass.
Yeah, dragon glass. Why can't I get any of these things right today?
All right, buddy.
And then Sam, she's like, I knew you were highborn. And he's like, yep, I was. And then what is happening is he kind of sings the baby to sleep, which was kind of nice. And he kind of sings the little prayer or whatever that they say.
Little prayer song they have, yeah.
Yeah, for the seven and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we head to Mira and Osha, who are skinning rabbits, which is kind of...
And arguing about it.
Yeah, it's kind of, I guess, if you don't like that kind of stuff, it can be a little gross.
Squeamish, right.
Yeah. Cause, like,
we know it's kind of fake, so it doesn't matter.
There was a scene with Tywin way back in season 1 when he was talking with Jaime, and my mom was like, oh, why did I show that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're just skinning and ripping the heads off, and they're arguing. These two are arguing.
Bitches hate each other.
Yeah, they do.
Really do. Chicks don't get along, let's face it.
And they're talking junk, and she's like, my way of skinning is better than yours. And it's like, all right, well, whatever.
Arguing about retarded shit. But they don't like each other.
Yeah, they don't. So Bran just kind of tells them to make a truce and stop fighting.
Shut the fuck up and deal with it.
Yeah, and
we're in this together.
Yeah. We don't need to be fighting. We don't need to be, breaking up, and all that. So Jojen is sleeping, and he kind of starts having a seizure.
Yeah.
As we would call it.
Yeah.
They call it a green dream. And he wakes up, and he finds out that Jon Snow is at the wall, but not on the right side of the wall. Yes.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So we go to Beyond the Wall,
where we see Jon.
Where we see Jon, and they're getting ready to climb up the wall.
This is interesting.
It's a kind of interesting because at this point Ygritte and Jon are talking, and kind of Ygritte figures out Jon's game in the fact that Jon is still loyal, and he's loyal.
Or at least is torn about it.
Yeah,
she might not be thinking that he's operating undercover, but she definitely knows that he's conflicted.
Mm-hmm. And that's why she says, "I'm your woman now, Jon Snow. You're going to be loyal to your woman." You know what I mean? And then she kind of says,
cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and she kind of says how you're a soldier for the Night's Watch. They don't give a shit if you die, and the Wildlings don't give a crap about me.
Right.
Let's just look out for each other, and like.
I thought
that was a good idea too. You know, I mean, maybe if they got over the wall, they could run away and not have to deal with anything.
Exactly.
So then we head over to where the Brotherhood is, and Anguy is teaching Arya how to some tips.
Which she's done. She's already.
Yeah, she knows how. She's fairly good with archery, and so she hits the people in the various spots.
Yeah, she's calling out names against the practice dummy.
Mm-hmm. And she says, face, tits, balls. I hit him right where I wanted to, because he's like, you're not hitting them anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You're not hitting them anywhere in point. Get away, Charlie.
Come here, dog, now.
All right. So Arya was being taught some tips by Anguy, not to aim.
Yeah, just
not
keep your elbow up. Give her pointers to become a good archer, so somebody knows how to use a bow.
Yeah, because she's like, why do I need to aim? And he's like, because your eyes will know where it's going. And then someone comes by, and it's Melisandre. And she's talking with Thoros, who is speaking High Valyrian, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And they're just kind of talking about, which I thought was kind of interesting, one little thing, where they're like, he was supposed to get Robert to stop believing in the in the seven gods.
Yeah, and try to lead him to the Lord.
Yeah. And I thought that was kind of neat, because I was like, I never even thought of it that way. I thought Thoros was just there.
Right.
So
it makes sense that he was there for a reason.
Yeah. True. So they kind of have a little chat in there, and she's kind of amazed that Thoros was able to bring Beric back, 6 times already, and
once, let alone 6
times.
Yeah.
And then he kind of tells his little story about how he used to be he believed in it for a little while, and then he didn't believe in it. Yeah. And then his friend, which I thought was a nice touch, he's like, my friend here, he died, and I didn't want him to die, and I prayed, yeah,
it worked.
And it worked, yeah. And she kind of says, then after that they kind of ask like, what are you doing here? And she's like, well, I'm here to take somebody. And who she takes is Gendry. And Gendry did not want to go because they said that he could be part of the Brotherhood. And he's like,
obviously Arya doesn't want him to go either.
Yeah, and he's like, you're supposed to be my brothers and this, that, and the other. We're supposed to stand for something. And then Melisandre says a good line, but it was just too long for me to write down. She's like, you're more than what they are. They're foot soldiers. You're gonna be something that makes and breaks kings.
Yeah,
and I thought that was a good line. So then we head over to Jon and the Wildlings, and they're slowly climbing up the wall. And Tormund kind of he has like I don't know if he has a misstep or he's just fucking with them, and he just kind of knocks something over and has it hit Jon, and then Jon's like, he just gives a look like, you son of a bitch. He's like, I'm just testing to see you, and then they keep climbing. Like we'll see this throughout the whole thing because the wall's 700 feet, 700 feet tall, so it's a huge.
So the climb takes literally a day.
Yeah, it could take the whole episode basically. So then we head back over to, well, I don't know where the hell it is, but that kid, the boy, as we were calling him before, he's torturing Theon some more, and he's kind of enjoying it, obviously.
Always is.
And he has like this little what is it, like little game that he's playing with him. And he's like,
oh yeah, he tries to get Theon to guess who he is.
Yeah, guess who he is, guess where they are. At least he knows that they're in the north.
Yeah.
But he doesn't guess anything else other than that. And what ends up happening is Theon gets his pinky cut off.
Yeah. And after it was skinned.
Yeah.
That guy seems to skin people.
It's
fucking weird.
He's a very sadistic fellow. I like the fact that they're, I think we'll talk about this a little later, but I do like the fact that they're showing how psychopath this guy is. Mm-hmm. But I know we'll talk about it a little later.
Yeah.
So we head over to Riverrun where Robb and the Freys are agreeing on a deal.
Yeah.
For the Freys to help them. And
they might get the Freys back in.
Yeah, which would be great. And
Edmure, they do want some stuff.
Yeah, they want Edmure Tully. He's going to get married to one of his daughters or granddaughters or whatever the hell it is.
So the Freys will have half a Riverrun.
Yeah, and then they want Harrenhal. Mm-hmm. And Robb's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And Edmure's not happy about that. He's like,
no. They've
been trying to get me married to those damn Freys for forever. And eventually Edmure kind of, he's like, all right, fine. And I love the part where the Blackfish is like, my face.
You're gonna do this.
And he's like, I'm gonna fucking knock your face in, and so he has to do that, which kind of sucks. But sometimes that happens. So then we go over to Brienne and Jaime, and they're talking with Roose Bolton, and Roose Bolton decides that Jaime is going to be let go, and he has to go to King's Landing and tell Tywin, his dad, that he had nothing to do with what happened to his hand.
Yeah. And
so Jaime's like, all right, I'll do that. And he's like, all right, Brienne, we're going to go. And he's like, oh, no, she's got to stay here. And he's like, oh, are you sure? And he's like, I insist. And he's like, nope, the woman is staying here. But one of my favorite parts of that scene was like Jaime was trying to cut the thing, and then just Brienne goes, boom, and just stabs the thing. I thought that was good.
So he can actually cut his meat.
I thought that was good. But basically what that scene is, Jaime is leaving and Brienne is staying. And also another hilarious thing was Brienne had that dress on, which was kind of funny. Even in the book, they talk about her looking not ladylike, not comfortable at all in a dress.
But he did a good job.
Yeah. All right, so we head back to King's Landing, where one of my favorite scenes of this episode is Tywin and Olenna Tyrell, and they're talking. And
two of the more witty and quippy people in the show.
And as in the beginning of last episode, how they had a fight between the Hound and Beric Dondarrion, and they're fighting each other. This is a battle, not with swords, but with words.
Yes.
And I thought it was freaking awesome. And they were just kind of talking back and forth to each other. And at one point, he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna have Loras get married to Cersei."
And Olenna doesn't want that at first.
Yeah, Olenna does not want that at first, and they kind of start talking about like Loras's weird
being
things,
gay and
Cersei
maybe fucking her brother.
Yeah, and I love where she's like, she's like, oh, didn't you have cousins or
Did you grow up with
boys?
boys and
And
cousins?
it's like, you never wrestled in between the sheets?
Yeah.
She's like, no, I never did that. And then
Try to get Tywin to say he sucked a dick or something.
yeah,
like that.
yeah. And then she's like, you know, a brother and a daughter getting together and banging.
That's just disgusting.
Yeah, that's just a brother and a sister getting together. That's just gross.
Yeah.
She's like, where I come from, that's
A little bit of buggery is okay.
Yeah,
but the other one is quite less tolerable.
Yeah, that's a disgusting act.
Yeah.
So, in the end, Tywin kind of threatens.
He coerces her.
Yeah,
definitely. He threatens to put Loras in the Kingsguard.
Yeah.
Which would mean he's probably gonna die defending Joffrey, and he's not gonna be able to marry anybody, and then they're gonna lose.
And then they're gonna lose.
Because Loras is a desirable man both to look at and being the heir to Highgarden. So she doesn't want to lose him and lose whatever power that he will get.
Yeah, and so in the end, she kind of takes the pen because he's like, all right, I'm just going to sign the order.
Sign the order to make him the
like,
Kingsguard, and she's,
She just snaps in half, and she says something to the fact that, like, a lot of times you don't see men be good on their word, or like, you hear about the rumors about them and them being true, you know what I mean? And him being a total asshole. So, we head back to the wildlings climbing up the wall, and what ends up happening is there's an avalanche. Would you call it an avalanche?
It's called an ice shelf breaking when that happens to like a glacier. That's the closest thing to a wall. So, somebody puts a pin in the wrong spot, and it happens
just
to
collapses.
a crack, and the crack. Sometimes the crack just stays there, and sometimes the crack fucking spreads.
Yeah.
And it spread over, and it drops a whole other...
Yeah, whole mess of wildlings.
Yeah, because they'd split up into 3 or 4 teams, four each climb the wall. One team was Tormund Giantsbane. One team was all named characters.
Yeah,
Orel, Giant, were just
and Ygritte.
wildlings.
Yeah. So when a good line that I was thinking of when that happened was I remember one of the people at the Night's Watch said, you know, the wall defends itself, and that's how it does. And so what ends up happening is Jon and Ygritte are kind of dangling underneath because they got kind of caught in it, but they're not like there totally.
But Tormund and Orel were safe.
Yeah, Tormund and Orel safe, and Orel's like, we gotta let him go, we gotta cut him off. So they're cutting him off, and this is like a really tense scene where Jon and Ygritte are like, Jon's like, I gotta get over to the other side.
He swings over to find a safer spot to hang on.
Yeah, and eventually he grabs it like real quick as the rope breaks, and then Ygritte's falling, and then he's able to securely land and save Ygritte.
And save her too, yeah.
And then what ends up happening is they just kind of like hug and embrace for a moment, and then Ygritte just keeps climbing, and Jon gives like a look like, what the fuck? Yeah. Either she's determined or she's a psycho, you know what I mean? After that, I'm like, I'm done with this walk. I climb back down. Get this, I'll find some other way. So then we head to Sansa and Loras having one of the most awkward talks about marriage.
Yeah, she's so stupid.
Yeah, having one of the most awkward talks about marriage I've ever seen.
Like, if you're talking to a dude and he's wicked excited about like the flowers and the colors of his wedding, it's because he's gay.
Yeah, and then he's talking about brooches, like, well, like, I guess it is a...
Yeah, if your guy knows the difference between a brooch and a brooch, he's gay.
Yeah.
Like, but she can't see that at all.
Yeah, she can't. And he's like, oh, and the wife, too, and the bride. Yeah, the bride was blushing. Yeah.
It's like, I totally forgot about that part of the
story. Yeah, it was great. And then we just see Cersei and Tyrion, they're talking, and they're like, which one's getting the worst out of this?
That was a nice little scene.
Yeah.
Because they don't like each other in the slightest.
No, they don't.
But they have to put up together because they're family. You might not like part of your family, but you can fucking put up with them.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah, you do. And so there, Tyrion is just kind of asking Cersei, like, you know, who would have, you know, just kind of asking, like, if his life
pretty
is
much
still,
asked her, like, you know
who
did you send Mary?
Yeah, and she's like, no. Well, actually, she didn't say anything. She just kind of gave him a look.
Yeah.
And
he's like, all right, so Joffrey said it.
Yeah, and then he's like, is my life still in danger? And he's like, he wouldn't do anything while Tywin's here. So Tyrion is trying to get some more information on that. And then we go to Sansa, who is in her room with Shay, and she's getting ready. She's trying on dresses for Joffrey's wedding, and Tyrion comes in.
And he's gonna break the news to her.
He's gonna break the news that he's gonna get married or not, and not Loras.
We don't get to see that.
No, we don't. But we do
know that that's what's coming.
Yes, we do get an excellent scene right after. Varys comes into King's Landing. They're in the throne room. Yeah, They're in the throne room, and Littlefinger's just sitting there looking at that throne like, man,
longingly.
Yeah, like, man, I love that fucking throne. And then Varys kind of talks about how there's 1,000 blades from Aegon the Conqueror, all forged. He's like, there's not even 200. And then he's like, I've counted. And I'm like, whoa, well, this guy. And then they kind of get up and they have like a little talk, and Littlefinger talks about how he thwarted Varys's plot to get Sansa married to
Tyrell.
The Tyrells. And what is it? Then they kind of talk about like power, and then he's like, if you don't have the legends or something like that, it's going to turn into chaos. And then
they talk about how there's a quote from Napoleon Bonaparte who said, "History is a set of lies agreed upon," and they kind of use that similarly. He says, "We say there's law and there's order and there's kings and there's lords, and if we say it long enough, then it's going to be true." Because really, for every lord, there's like a few thousand small folk, and if they really wanted to, they could just kind of overrun them. But we say there's order so that we can have a society.
Yeah.
And so they're talking about how society could break down if we stopped telling this lie. And Varys says it would be chaos. It would be a giant pit of chaos.
Yeah.
And then Littlefinger goes into my favorite line.
It's
it's like a little monologue he gets to deliver, and he talks about how chaos is not a pit. It's a ladder.
And that was a great line. And then he kind of goes into how chaos. He kind of talks about Sansa in the essence that she doesn't know, like she just hangs on to these beliefs that she has. And then they talk about Joffrey, who while Varys and Littlefinger are talking, they're talking about Roz, and they don't mention her by name, but they mention how his little agent got sold off, or
so someone with a very weird request.
I just love how he puts it. He doesn't even say, I got her killed or whatever, because we find out that Roz dies by Joffrey, and it's just the way he puts it. It's just like, man.
Essentially, Joffrey bought Roz.
Yeah.
As like you'd pay for a whore,
and then use your target
just fucking shot her to death with a crossbow.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing jerked off too, because he's that kind of fucking psycho.
Yeah. And so Littlefinger's talking about Joffrey, like symbolically with Joffrey, symbolically with Sansa, with the chaos going on in both of those two, and then symbolically with Jon and Ygritte, who at the end of the episode,
and the war in whole too.
Yeah, and the whole war in general, and then Jon and Ygritte. In the end, they make it to the top of the wall, and they embrace, and it's been a long.
It's a nice scene on top of the wall too.
It kind of
zooms
out
and everything.
Everything is really nice. It's really cool. So, no new characters in this episode. Let's talk about likes and dislikes. Let's talk about the scene with Theon. Why?
Yeah.
I like it. I hope they don't show too much more of it.
I don't hate it. I just like the fact that. And this episode is the one that really, because they play the whole game, Guess Who I Am? And I don't care at this point. He's obviously not somebody famous, because everybody who's famous in Westeros we've probably already met or has been dead for 100 years. And you talk about somebody like Baelor the Blessed or the Morning Star, or like you hear these names they throw around like legends, even like the Mad King or something. Like obviously he's not going to be one of those people.
No.
And I don't think the payoff for the whole guessing game is going to make much to people.
Yeah, well, maybe it will, but I'm thinking...
It will if you are really into the books. Yeah. But as somebody who wants to just watch the TV show, you're not going to care.
Yeah, someone who's read the books knows who this guy is.
Yeah.
But the thing...
So you're not doing it for them.
No.
And you're drawing it out, which isn't going to be that big of a deal.
I'm gonna hold faith that they know what they're doing, like that they know how they're gonna tie with that with what's gonna happen later in a pretty little bow. You know what I mean?
I think they will, but I still don't think it's gonna be worth it.
Yeah, maybe it will.
The reveal.
I just think that you don't need to keep. I don't think you need to keep showing it. Like
no.
The fact that like this guy is a psychopath. Like you already know that by the way he captured him last week or 2 weeks ago. You know, he caught him and he put him back on the thing, but like this week was just fucked up.
Yeah.
And like it's only gonna get worse.
Yeah.
I think they're
trying at home, and you're almost moving into like gore porn territory.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
It's weird.
That's probably the only thing. I don't really have a problem with it. I just think that, like, I understand why they're doing it. They're trying to show this guy is a crazy guy.
I understand that
He's
too.
doing it for fun. He's
I
not
think
doing
it's just like overkill.
Yeah.
That was the only thing.
Okay. So, no, like I said, no new characters.
No.
Let's go with best line, best kill. I'm going with Raj. She's dead.
She is dead.
And I'm sad
My favorite
because
kill-
those were good tits.
And Rob was actually a really good character too.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite kill would have to be the wall killing
Of all those
a bunch
climbers.
of other climbers. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. I didn't even
More
think about
in-depth,
that as
yeah.
I was taking notes.
That was good. That was my favorite deaths.
And my favorite line was "Chaos isn't a pit, it's a ladder." But there's a lot of other good lines. Rob, you got any?
I'm gonna say his whole speech from that moment on.
Yeah,
the,
it was
the whole
great.
the chaos speech.
Mm-hmm.
It was really great.
And I liked.
Although you could probably pick any line that Tywin and Alina are together.
Yeah,
They're just jabbing back and forth.
Oh yeah.
The way she busts his balls, like nobody talks to him like that.
Mm-hmm. No
So
one.
that was
That's
really
why I
great.
loved it too, because it's like finally he's getting a dose of his own medicine.
Yeah.
A meeting of the mind.
She talks to him the way he usually talks to everybody else, and they're afraid to talk back to him like that.
Mhm,
So that was really cool.
But a couple of other lines that another two lines really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Rob, because Rob isn't getting many lines, I thought this one was pretty good. He
Mhm.
talks to his uncle about, "You're paying for my sins, uncle. It's
Mhm.
not fair, right? I'll remember it."
Yeah.
Tell him how, like, you gotta wed this girl because I didn't wed that girl. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, kind of thing. And then one other one, Tyrion says, "7 kingdoms united in the fear of Tywin Lannister."
Yeah.
That is damn true. That's funny. So, just one, I'm gonna mention a difference in the book between the show. Melisandre comes to get Gendry. Gendry never actually gets taken in the book, but there's a reason why they're doing this.
Yeah, he's an
We'll see
amalgamation.
later.
What they're doing with Gendry is he's an amalgamation of a lesser character.
Yeah,
with
someone
the
that
Gendry
you
character.
don't need to add another character. You might.
No, he's going to serve the purpose quite nicely.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah, he
like, you
will.
read the books, you know that there's another kid, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I don't. think
Robert's
it's
had
a
more
show.
bastards, and he's a bastard.
Yeah.
Robert, obviously.
And so, Gendry is, so they're just lumping this together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all right because it's a way to keep Gendry to the show more too.
Yeah.
So
True.
I'm cool. I'm down with
Yeah.
that. I like that kid.
So I think that's about it, Rob.
I think that is it. Dude.
Anything else you want to add?
No, I'm good.
Cool. Stay off the streets, guys. This has been Pete, Attention 1913.
This is Rob from Rob's Candy Drawer.
And we'll see you in the next Game of Thrones review.
We will. Well, you'll see us. We won't see you.